Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Tell me, madam.
Okay. You can able to hear.
Clear, madam.
Yes, done, sir.
Madam, one second. Madam,
Chitra. Hi, Chitra.
Hi, ma'am.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can able to see you, ma'am.
Is it okay or shall I keep it little ahead? Yeah. I think this is okay now.
Yeah, this is okay. This is super.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I think it's okay, right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The brightness is okay?
Is there some brightness you can increase brightness?
Increase the brightness?
Yeah.
Voice is okay?
Voice is pakka, ma'am.
Okay. Now how do you see the brightness?
Now it's better. Better than the previous one.
Okay. లేకపోతే అట్ సైడ్ ఇది మనకి ఏంటంటే ఇండైరెక్ట్ లైట్ పడుతుంది లేకపోతే సిస్టమ్ అట్ సైడ్ అది అట్లా తీస్తే నౌ ఈస్ ద బ్రైట్నెస్ ఓకే
Yeah, super.
సౌండ్ ఈస్ ఓకే చిత్ర
I can able to hear you clearly. Pakka.
ఓకే యా మేనేజరా ఓకే టైం ఉంది
hello, madam. Hello. Hello.
లాగిన్ అయినట్లు తెలుస్తుంది
Mobile.
ఇక్కడ నంబర్స్ ఇక్కడ కనబడుతూ ఉంటుంది
Mobile easy. Laptop. No, but actually, minimum is that in that slide. Back, escape, and back. Okay. Uh, uh, madam. Yes. Okay.
Madam, good afternoon, Satyanarayana madam. Visalakshmi madam. Hello, madam. Hello.
We will only listen.
Only listen.
Run from PC, run from PC, not from Android. Click here to join. Password remember. Sorry, and please be right.
Hello.
தேங்காய் போட்டு முதல்ல உள்ள சட்னி விட்டு அரைச்சிட்டு நேவாட்டணும் தேங்காயை தனியா ஆட்டிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் அது உள்ள போடணுமா?
मैडम की नौशिया क्या है? ये क्या है लिखा है आपको? मैडम इडली बनती है?
Madam, Dr. Ramakrishna, madam. Hello.
வரேன்.
Sir.
Hello.
The participants.
Hello.
Hello.
Chitra?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. You are audible, ma'am.
Oh, you are audible.
Okay. Can I go ahead with the presentation?
1 minute, ma'am.
Yeah. I can make out Dr. Srinimas has joined the program. Welcome, Dr. Srinimas.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Thank you very much. All
He is the
best.
treasurer of Foxy Society, Warangal.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, taking time to listen to my program today.
Ma'am, this is Dr. Kiran from Shield Medical Affairs. So before starting, I will just introduce you and then hand the mic over to you, ma'am.
Do I need to introduce once again?
Ma'am, I will introduce you and then you can start, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, please.
So on behalf of Shield Healthcare, we want to welcome all the doctors. I am Dr. Kiran. I head the medical affairs in Shield Healthcare. During this times of microbes, we are living in the world of microbes today. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Srilakshmi from Warangal. Ma'am is very well known. I did not introduce ma'am very much, but suffice ma'am is a pioneer in the field of ART since 20 years. And ma'am has done her ART physiology from Germany. And ma'am specializes exclusively in minimal access surgery. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Dr. Kiran.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiran, for introducing me. It's really indeed a very good afternoon for me and for all the doctors. I see here more than 41 participants have joined today's webinar program. This is really very, very happiest thing for me. I know in this Corona time, everybody is staying at home, and I always pray everybody should stay home, stay safe. And I know you're never missing your academics. This is really a very, very good initiative from Shield. Now doctors are always want to know new things. So I'll be speaking today on microbiota, a predictor for ART outcome. Next. Chitra. Coming to the introduction, the urogenital site contributes to 9% of the entire human microbiome as compared to GIT, which comprises 29% of total. So coming to the introduction part, the urogenital site usually contributes to 9% of the entire human microbiome as compared to GIT. We know GIT is the largest organ of the human body, which comprises around 29% of the total microbiome. The vaginal microbiome is dynamic and changes throughout a woman's lifetime and is commonly dominated by lactobacillus species. The vaginal microbiome plays an important role in maintaining women's overall health. The vaginal microbial community plays an important role in vaginal innate immunity and the inhibition of bacterial, viral, and yeast infections. Next. Coming to the vagina, it has the lowest bacterial diversity of all the body sites tested. Next, Chitra. Next slide, please. This lactobacilli actually provides a defense against pathogen colonization, like Trichomonas vaginalis, Candida species, Gardnerella vaginalis producing lactic acids, hydrogen peroxide, and bacteriocin, and modulating the non-specific host response. They survive under low gastric pH, bile salts, and passage through the intestine, and then ascended without functional intervention into the vagina. We all know that whenever we take some pre or probiotics, whenever we are passing the fecal feces, these lactic acid bacilli enter from the rectum venous into the vagina. Next, Chitra. So coming to the mechanism of urogenital colonization, we know there are 3 modes of colonization. Here we can see that it can come from the hematogenous spread of bacteria, and it can also spread from the. It can also enter from the. It can also enter from the vagina, ascend from the vagina, and there might be also a retrograde spread from the fallopian tubes. And whenever we are doing any ART related procedures, we always give pre and probiotics, which is also beneficial for the urogenital colonization. Next. So what all the, we have, the studies have already shown that there is a significantly higher clinical pregnancy rates in the group with no microbial growth compared with the group whose cultures was positive for the microbial colonization. Next, Chitra. It is actually for 57% when compared to 29%, 26%, and the p-value is more less than 0.005. Next. And we also find significantly lower clinical pregnancy rates, ongoing pregnancy rates, and implantation rates in groups with positive cervical culture. So whenever there is an abnormal bacteria in the vagina or in the cervix or in the uterine flora, our clinical pregnancy rates, implantation rates, ongoing pregnancy rates, all are going to be low. So this study was conducted by Fanchin et al. In 1998, which showed 24% versus 37%. That means in positive cervical culture, there is only 24% clinical pregnancy rate when compared to 37%. Next. And coming to the effects of ART and vaginal micro. Lots of estradiol in the blood circulation, and these hormones impact greatly upon the vaginal microbiota and susceptibility of the women to infection. This all thing is, everything is altered. Next. And coming, and whenever when 16S RNA deep sequencing is used in an IVF ET, there is a shift in vaginal microbiome in some, but not in all of women. And there are new bacterial strains is found in 33% of the women screened during the treatment cycle. Next. Coming to the effects of ART on vaginal microbiota, we have already spoken on stimulation and embryo transfer. Then we'll be doing on down regulation with GnRH analogs. Whenever we are giving exogenous hormones these hormones impact upon the vaginal environment and the composition of vaginal microbiome. Whenever we are giving more than GnRH analogs 4 months, that is monthly once injection of GnRH analogs, long acting, there is an increased vaginal pH significantly above 4.5. And also in endometriosis, there is a significant shift towards intermediate vaginal microflora, and there is also decrease in normal vaginal microflora. Next. Coming to the effects of ART and vaginal microbiota, whenever we are doing an ovum pickup in an IVF cycle, there is contamination is possible from vaginal cervical microbiome by needle puncture of the vagina. Whenever we are doing a pickup, that needle might contaminate the vaginal cervical microbiome. And microorganisms also enter the endometrium from the cervix during embryo transfer, and this could damage the developing embryo and also prevent pregnancy. Next. Coming to the pathophysiology of vaginal imbalance in female infertility, concentration of interleukin-1 beta in the environment. Next. This causes the triggering the generation of reactive oxygen species, and it also affects the membrane integrity and flexibility. It also impairs both tail motion and sperm oocyte fusion, leading to disruption of fertilization and implantation. Next. Whenever we here you in this chart, you can see what all the what changes will happen in the ovaries and the endometrium during the menstrual cycle. We can see there is a follicular phase, there is a luteal phase, and whenever there is a normal whenever there is normal healthy vaginal mucosa, this produces enough lactic acid, reduces the pH, and protects against pathogen growth, and it also blocks adhesions of pathogens. It promotes supportive environment for fertilization and implantation, and it helps regulate host defense mechanism. It produces antimicrobial compounds like bacteriocins and hydrogen peroxide. All these things are very, very helpful for the maintaining the normal vaginal flora. Here in this chart, you can make out that the blue and green are the lactobacilli, and the yellow and red are the non-lacto acid bacilli. But you should also see that when there is disrupted vaginal microbiome, there is increase in sexually transmitted infection, there is increase in pelvic inflammatory disease, there is increase in cervicitis, there is increase in pro-inflammatory cytokines, sperm motility and viability. There is, when it comes to the pregnancy, when you have disrupted vaginal microbiome, there is amniotic fluid infection, chorioamnionitis, late miscarriages, premature rupture of membranes, preterm birth, virus reactivation, low birth weight, and postpartum endometritis. So this is the most important chart of our program today. You can make out what all disturbances can happen when there is no normal microbiome in the vagina and the endometrium. Next. Looking into the future, a healthy vaginal microbiome can help to prevent urogenital conditions such as urinary tract infections, bacterial vaginosis. Therefore, studies leading to better understanding of the vaginal microbiome will facilitate the discovery of improved treatments and diagnostics for such conditions. Next. So the probiotics containing lactobacillus used over long periods can be an alternative to antibiotics, particularly with the context of high infection recurrence rates. Next. Many of us use prebiotics and probiotics whenever there is a vaginal infection, or in a case of when we are doing an IVF cycle. Before that, we give pre and probiotics. We don't want any patient to be having any infection which might be decreasing our IVF results. So, but what is the difference between a probiotic and a prebiotic? According to World Health Organization, probiotics are defined as live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amounts, confer a health benefit on the host. So coming to what all the benefits we see with probiotics, there is an acid and bile stability, and these probiotics are actually from human origin. They are production of the antimicrobial substances. They adhere to the human intestinal cells. They persist in the human intestinal tract. Validated and documented health effect, and they have antagonism against enteric pathogens, and they're also susceptible to antibiotics. So we should always remember, whenever we are using antibiotics, it might alter the intestinal microflora as well as the vaginal flora. So we need to give pre and probiotics whenever we are treating a vaginal infection, so that the recurrence chances are very less. And these probiotics are very safe, can be used, taken with along with the food. Next. What are prebiotics? These prebiotics are compounds in food that induce the growth or activity of beneficial microorganisms. So probiotics are actually live microorganisms, whereas prebiotics are compounds in the food that actually induce the growth or activity of the beneficial microorganisms. So prebiotics plus probiotics is equal to symbiotics. Both together are called as symbiotics. So the prebiotics actually, they stimulate the growth and reproduction of only useful microflora. They also maintain the optimal pH inside the intestine. They also stimulate local immunity. They also remove excess mucus from the walls of small intestine. They also reduce the formation of gases. They also suppress the reproduction in intestines of pathogenic bacteria. They also stimulate the peristalsis. Next slide, Chitra. So the vaginal, there are many studies which were done on this vaginal microbiome and endometrial flora. And Dr. Kododner et al. In 2099, he said the vaginal microbiome as predictive for in vitro fertilization with or without ICSI, and their outcomes. So one question we always want to answer is the presence or absence of certain bacteria associated with failure to become pregnant after an IVF or IVF ICSI cycle? And the second question we need to answer is, can the composition of the vaginal microbiome be used as an independent predictor for IVF or ICSI outcome? Next slide, please. So our result indicate that vaginal microbiome profiling using the IS-PRO technique enables stratification of the chance of becoming pregnant prior to the start of an IVF or IVF ICSI treatment. So knowledge of their vaginal microbiota may enable couples to make a more balanced decision regarding timing and continuation of their IVF or IVF ICSI cycles. Next. Next slide. Coming to the differential composition of vaginal microbiomes, but not of seminal microbiome, is associated with the successful intrauterine insemination in couples with idiopathic infertility. This was a prospective observational study done by Virginia Amato, and his results showed that the potential role of lactobacillus in promoting a favorable environment for pregnancy, and suggests that microbiome characterization could be useful together with standard clinical and laboratory assessments in pre-IUI evaluation of infertile couples. So we all know that the vaginal microbiome and the seminal microbiome, these are gained a large interest for involvement in reproductive health and fertility. However, their role in reproductive outcome is not fully understood. Yet this study aimed to correlate the vaginal and seminal microbiome of 23 couples with idiopathic infertility to clinical pregnancy rates after intrauterine insemination. So the vaginal swabs were taken and the seminal fluids were collected on the day of IUI procedure and analyzed through PCR, that is polymerase chain reaction, and amplification of variable regions 3 and 4 of 16 RS ribosomal nucleic acid genes and Illumina MySeq sequencing. The taxonomic data was correlated to IUI success rates. Next. So many of articles have proved that abnormal vaginal microbiota may be associated with poor reproductive outcome. This was a prospective study in IVF patients, was done by T. Har, Jensen, Thompson, and Humayden. And the wider implications of these findings are an abnormal vaginal microbiota may negatively affect the clinical pregnancy rate in IVF patients. If a negative correlation between abnormal vaginal microbiota and the clinical pregnancy rate is corroborated, patients could be screened and subsequently treated for abnormal vaginal microbiota prior to fertility treatment. Next. So there is always this study conducted by Immaculada Moreno and Carlos Simon from California, USA. This is the study where the relevance of assessing the uterine microbiota in infertility was conducted. So he discussed that the technical advances in massive parallel sequencing have allowed the characterization of the whole reproductive tract microbiome in all the compartments beyond the vagina. So the microbiota in the uterine cavity seems to be the continuum from microbiota from the vagina, but several works have reported significant differences between the vaginal and endometrial microbiota. Because what is the role of vagina and what is the role of endometrium? So the role of vagina is to maintain the sperms, whereas the role of the endometrium is to get a pregnancy. So their roles are different. So that's why their actions also seem to be different, and their microflora also seems to be a little bit different, highlighting the relevance of assessing the upper genital tract microbiota to better understand the potential roles of bacteria in the pathological and physiological process taking place in the uterine cavity, like embryo implantation, pregnancy maintenance, and other gynecological diseases. However, the study of the endometrial microbiota, as with or other low mass microbiota, presents important hurdles because due to the small amount of starting material, there can be easily contaminated by exogenous bacterial DNA. So whenever we want to take an endometrial microflora, most of the times it gets contaminated by exogenous bacterial DNA. So the results might vary at the end. For this reason, careful and appropriate investigation of the endometrial microbiota is of outstanding importance to detect uterine dysbiosis that may impact the reproductive function. Next slide, please. So finally, coming to the conclusion, what does the evidence-based medicine say? So the presence of non-lactobacillus dominated microbiota in the receptive endometrium was associated with significant decrease in implantation. You see, it is 60.7% versus 23.1%. So there is a lot of decrease in implantation. And when coming to pregnancy, 70% versus 33%. So whenever you find non-lactobacillus dominated microbiota, your pregnancy results are going down from 70 to 33, and the ongoing pregnancy rates drop down from 58 to 13%, and a live birth can drop down from 58% to 67%. So to conclude, our results demonstrate that existence of an endometrial microbiota that is highly stable during the acquisition of endometrial receptivity. However, pathological modification of its profile is associated with poor reproductive outcomes for in vitro fertilization patients. This finding adds a novel microbiological dimension to the reproductive process. Next. Finally, the take-home message of today's topic will be, whenever a bacterial vaginosis is treated, your pregnancy rates are doubled. So whenever you see a bacterial vaginosis patients are treated, you find 49% of the pregnancy rate, whereas in an untreated patients, you find only 24% are conceiving pregnancy rates. So this coming to the conclusion of today's topic, my take-home message is prebiotics and probiotics are to be given for each and every patient whom we are treating for vaginal infections, whether they want to conceive or not. But in the infertility patients, when we are planning for an IVF cycle, because we can't do endometrial flora and vaginal flora testing, it is always better to give prebiotics and probiotics prior to an IVF cycle, so that their vaginal flora is replenished. And in ISHRE 2019 guidelines, there was a bacilli called Burkholderia. This was studied in recurrent implantation failure cases. This pathogen was actually causes myeloidosis and pulmonary diseases in cystic fibrosis patients, and also tuber ovarian abscess, and is also associated with intrauterine contraceptive devices. So this Burkholderia bacilli was found in most of the cases of recurrent implantation failure. So if we can make out what is the cause for our implantation failure, whether which prebiotic or probiotic will be acting on that, then our pregnancy rates, we can optimize our IVF results. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. Any questions or any doubts, you can talk to me, please. Chitra, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can able to hear you. If anyone have any questions, please unmute yourself and you can ask.
Or they can chat also.
Yeah.
You can chat and put in question on the, you can type a question.
Dr.
Madam, good
Neeraj
afternoon,
already
madam.
asked a question. Are you using pre-probiotic before IVF for all patients?
Yes, Dr. Neeraja, because I don't have facilities to test each and every patient for vaginal microflora or endometrial microflora. I usually give a course of pre and probiotics to each and every patient whom I am doing an IVF. One cycle prior to IVF, yeah. I got your question. 1 month before the next cycle, if I'm going to do IVF, this cycle I'm going to give a pre and probiotic.
Next question from Dr. Sukirti Eluri. Ma'am, any implication of chronic endometriosis on RIP?
I didn't get the question properly. Dr. Sukirti, can you please put it once again?
Ma'am, any implication of chronic endometriosis on RIP?
Of course, yeah. Whenever there is a patient with chronic endometritis, the recurrent implantation failure, you bound to see a recurrent implantation failure. So unless and until you treat the endometritis, you're not supposed to do an embryo transfer. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Srilakshmi. There is an appreciation for you from Dr. Satya Pondicherry. Nice, short and apt presentation. Thanks and congrats, doctor, for all of us.
Thank you so much, Kiran. Yeah.
For
Any more questions from the audience?
Madam, good afternoon.
Dr. Srinivas, I can make out. Yeah, please go ahead with your question.
Can we use pre and probiotic in IUI cycles?
Of course, there is, yeah. See,
Normal
one thing,
stimulation cycles, timely intercourse cycles.
yeah. See, if the patient is complaining of any vaginal infection or any urinary infection, definitely you can give pre and probiotics. But as a routine, I'm giving in every IVF cycle. But in an IUI cycle, it is up to you. You can just see if there is any vaginal infection, you can treat it. If you don't find any unhealthy thing, you find vagina everything to be healthy, then I don't think it is a must. But since IVF is a procedure we can't do again and again, definitely one cycle prior to IVF, it is always better to give the pre and probiotics.
Thank you.
Ma'am, the next question from Dr. Neerja Valli is what is the role of pre and probiotic for male patients before IVF?
Male patients pre and probiotics, the studies have not been done, so we don't know whether really they are going to be beneficial or not beneficial. But if the semen culture is positive, then we are supposed to treat them, treat with antibiotics, and then repeat the semen culture after 4 weeks. Repeat the semen culture after 4 weeks. But the role of pre and probiotics in a male with semen culture infection, we don't know. The studies have yet to be done.
Ma'am, the next question is from Dr. Satya from Pondicherry. She's saying, would you need to repeat the schedule? If so, after how many months?
The pre and probiotics don't need to be given again and again. You can give one cycle of pre and probiotics, and unless the patient complains of any infection, or you're going to do an IVF cycle after 6 months. So you are going to do one cycle you have done now, and within six months, if you are doing another cycle, it's okay. But after 6 months, if you are doing another cycle, I definitely want to give a one course pre and probiotics before. But within 6 months of one cycle, I don't need to repeat them once again.
There is one more appreciation from a phone number ASUS, laptop ASUS X00TD. May we know the name, please? And that particular doctor has told, very nice presentation, ma'am, short and informative, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Neerja Valli. Very nice. Thank you for your appreciation.
Dr. Srilakshmi Garu, Dr. Kiran Garu, any more questions? If they are not there, can we conclude with the permission from all audience, ma'am?
Sure, sir. There is one more question from Dr. Sanjana S. Ma'am. Is it useful in treating tubal infections?
Pardon, I didn't get your question properly. Is it useful in treating tubal infections?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Definitely. See, any infection anywhere, because we need to have a proper microbiome in each and every place. It is not only in the uterus and vagina, even in the fallopian tubes, we need to have a proper flora. So if we don't have a proper microbiome in the fallopian tubes, so in natural conceptions might be delayed. Not only that, whenever we are treating a patient with IUI, if the tubal secretions show some infection, and if they're not properly treated, then your pregnancy results might be less, natural cycles or IUI cycles. So even for the tubal infections, we need to give microbiome, pre and probiotics, sorry. All the reproductive tract, like from the ovaries, fallopian tubes, uterus, cervix, and vagina, this all is considered as one tract. So microbiome is essential for the whole reproductive tract.
One more appreciation from Galaxy 59. Yes, 9. Very nice, precise and clear message of usage of pre-probiotics.
Dr. Kiran, yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Srinivas. I know you are the most important person in Foxy Warangal. You thank you so much for participating.
On behalf of Warangal Foxy, we appreciate your services, and
Thank you.
on behalf of Foxy Warangal, and thank you each and everyone who participated in this program.
There are participants from across the country, Dr. Srinivas Garu and Dr. Sri Lakshmi Garu.
So
Thank
that's what
you so much.
congratulating our Dr. Sri Lakshmi Madam, member of Foxy Warangal branch.
Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah. If there are no more questions, I think we can wind up the program, Mr. Kiran.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Kiran Garu.
Sir, we can wind up.
So thank you, Dr. Srinivas Garu. May I also take this opportunity to thank all the participants from across the country. We appreciate your time, like Dr. Sri Lakshmi Garu mentioned at the beginning of this program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much on behalf of Warangal Foxy and the Secretary of Warangal Foxy Society. I really thank the Shield Company for making this program, and I wish to see many more in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Special
would
thanks
like
to
work-
Shield Healthcare.
Thank you, sir. And
Special
Yeah,
thanks
yeah.
to Shield
work-
Healthcare.
we would like to work with your chapter for more number of times with more useful topics to benefit more patients through more doctors.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.